Hey guys, just finished watching Flash Season 5, Episode 9, Elseworld, Part 1. Oh my god, this is such a good episode. Interesting that it's disappointing that we don't get to see Batgirl or Batwoman in this episode at all. I mean, we get to see her all quick at the end, but that was about it. But, so we start off this episode, we open up with the teaser that we got, at the end of all the other episodes last week and stuff. So I think that was really cool seeing that. It was really kind of cool seeing John with his ships, Flash again. We've seen that clip again. It's always a great clip to see. And then we start off with a psychologist, who's kind of teaching a class, and he's only very few people there, not a lot, not really many people there. And he's talking about trying to give people superpowers, to try and make people feel, self-worth and all that stuff. And he's then later on given a book, a magic book by the Monitor, which then resets reality. And that's where we see Oliver wakes up in Barry's place, as Barry in Barry's place with Oliver, with Iris and everything. And I think that was really cool. And then we get, to see Amazo and stuff going around. That was really cool seeing that. We see Barry. We also see Barry training with Diggle. And that was really cool seeing that. I'm surprised that there was no Felicity in there. Felicity wasn't there while he was training, or Lila wasn't there while he was training, or anyone else. The bunker is kind of destroyed, but this didn't reset that to where the bunker is kind of not destroyed. And I think that was would have been kind of interesting to kind of see that. But we only got to see Diggle training there. And I'm surprised that when you see that, because even though it was at Argus, we could have saw Lila, we could have seen Curtis. Curtis been working there. I think that would be really cool to see that, or even see anyone there. Maybe even see. I can't think of her name there, but Donna. What's her? Dinah. We could even see Dinah there. She's been working, with with Diggle and stuff in Argus to try and stop Diaz and stuff. So I think that could have been something. Would have been cool to see there more than just Diggle, But we'll have to wait and see as to where things go in the next episode. So we see Felicity. We find out that Felicity had called Iris when Oliver went to jails. And, and I think that was an interesting idea. She called, the first person she thinks to call is Iris, someone to just pour her feelings out to. And I think that would have been something interesting I would have loved to have seen. We're just hearing about that now in this episode. I would have loved to have seen that. I get that why they were doing that, because she was telling Stephen Amell, right? So I think that was interesting as how kind of things were going with that. I think it would have been I think it would have been really interesting as if back when Oliver first went to prison, the first beginning of this season, if we had seen something like that, I think that would have been really cool to see that. Maybe if they kind of, maybe just, or mentions of that, back when it was actually happening, during when it was happening, just to kind of have that crossovers between the little crossovers to show that they're aware of what's going on in each other's shows. We did see last season, there was when Oliver was going back and forth in prison and all that stuff, and it was revealed that he was the Green Arrow and all that. There was a newspaper on the Flash and stuff, but these little things are the little things that I'd like to see more often. And this thing that they just kind of use as a one-liner with that Felicity had called Iris to talk about that, that should have been something that would have liked to have seen if they could have been a texting between the two of them. I don't know. I think it would have been really interesting, to see that, or even just a one-liner from Iris's perspective in the Flash while it was happening, to say that Felicity had already done that, and I think that would have been something cool to see, that just a little connections here and there to kind of make it, make everyone on the Flash aware of what's going on Arrow and vice versa, and all that stuff would be something cool to see. I mean, we start off this episode and Oliver and Iris mentions Cicada, and Oliver has no idea who Cicada is, and I think that should be something that it just would be cool to see them kind of just aware of what's going on both sides. Someone like Oliver who would want to be, know what's going on everywhere, right? I think that he should kind of know that, but who knows? I think it would have been something cool to kind of see throughout this season, And then we see Cisco. He ends up vitamin the Monitor, and then we go to Era 32, and we get the Smallville intro in the classic Smallville style, and it's like, oh, so cool. We get to see Smallville. We get everything but the title logo, and that was just perfect. It was just awesome. And as they go into the Kemp farm, which is the same exact Smallville set, and then we see the Amazo, and we have Superman, Supergirl, Flash, Arrow all fighting Amazo, and I think that was really cool seeing that. We see Superman help stop Amazo, and then he ends up going back over there, but he'll be back, right? We've seen the trailers and stuff, so I think that's really going to be cool to see, is kind of how he gets back involved in all this. And then it's really going to be interesting to see as to kind of where things go with this, because Iris kind of in this episode, she's talking to Barry, she's talking to Grant Gustin, and she's calling him Barry and all that stuff. And once they kind of realize who they all are and they start to believe them and stuff, I think it was kind of interesting seeing that. I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Like, I'm really worried as to where things are going to go with this crossover once it's all over. Hopefully it doesn't reality's been reset. Hopefully everything doesn't get reset back, and only Oliver and Barry are the ones kind of left, and maybe Supergirl and Superman, because they're on different Earths, right? They're not really affected. Only Earth 1's been affected. But I think it would be quite interesting to see as to where things go with. Hopefully Oliver and Barry are not the only ones kind of left remembering all this and what happens all this, and Iris can go out changed from this. Everyone at Star Labs, Cisco, Killer Frost, Caitlin, Elongated Man, Ralph Didn't everyone, Sherlock Wells, everyone's Felicity Dickel, every single person needs to be affected by this and changed and have memories of this crossover, rather than having it kind of all just gone away after the end of it, because it would be kind of pointless. What's the point of watching this if none of the characters, only the two main characters really come out of it remembering it, and it's like, well, you may as well just skip the whole crossover, if you don't really want to watch it, right? I really want it to be something that kind of, it has to be an event that kind of changes everyone in the Arrowverse, I guess except the legend characters because they're not involved, but it changes everyone else, for it, and I think that is really something cool to see, and I'd like to see where things kind of go with that. And then it could be something they bring up a few later here. Yeah, once you're even body swapped with Oliver, remember that? I think that would be something cool to kind of mention, in a few years, in other episodes. I think it could be something so that everyone can kind of, remember that, right? So that would be something really, really cool, especially with John with the ship coming as, as the Flash. I think that was going to be something that everyone needs to see, and I think it's going to be something to see. I need to see Joe wasn't in this episode, but we need to see Joe involved with that, because Joe seeing Henry Allen, first he saw, I think, did Joe ever meet? I think Joe did meet Jay Garrick, who was a doppelganger to Henry Allen, and now we're getting a Barry Allen, a Flash, who's a doppelganger to Henry Allen. I think that is going to be something interesting, and then, I need to have the dynamic, people who really need to kind of interact with that is Barry, Iris, and Joe. The three of them dealt with the, Henry being blamed for Nora's Allen so much. They lived with that for so long. So to see this, one of them being a Flash, I think is going to be really cool. Is something cool that they all need to kind of be a part of, right? Rather than just everyone else needs to see that too, but mainly those three, right? So that's why I'm hoping that Joe West is around for that, at least meet him. Even if he meets him just for one scene or something, it would be cool. So we see Iris doesn't want Barry to become Oliver. I think that's really cool. She's talking to Grant Gustin, and she's like, he's becoming the Green Arrow, and they had to kind of play the part and stuff, and I think that was really fun playing that. Although it was kind of weird that they went from one scene where they couldn't play them parts, like they were playing, it was Barry as the Green Arrow and it was Oliver as the Flash, and it really wasn't working, because Oliver's all about dark, Green Arrow's all about darkness, whereas the Flash is all about light, and they're trying to, Oliver's trying to use anger to control his powers, whereas and Barry's trying to use being being happy while doing this stuff, and it's just not working, right? They got to use the way they're supposed to use. They got to play the part, right? But then all of a sudden, they just kind of, from one scene to the next, they're just kind of, all of a sudden, Grant Gustin, Barry Allen is full Green Arrow. You have failed the city, and then Oliver is full kind of, happy Flash type thing. I don't know. It's just a bit fast with that, but I understand in this crossover, there's so much going on. They can't spend the time just to kind of have a montage of them kind of learning to be each other, and they just had to just kind of learn it and just be each other. And I think that was kind of it's just something that I noticed, but we'll have to wait and see as to where things go. So then we end the episode with we see Cisco ends up showing them, Barry and Oliver, the vibe that he's been getting of the monitor, and that's when Oliver notices the Wayne Tower in the background. I think that is really going to be interesting to see as to where things go with that, because I'm hoping that because we had a few seasons ago, I think it was last season when Oliver was revealed, there's that fake photo of Oliver as the Green Arrow, and he mentioned that could have been Bruce Wayne in there. So that says that there is a Gotham on Earth 1, right? So I think that could be something interesting with that, is if they play with that, and, you know, maybe this Elseworld thing changed things, like changed, Bruce Wayne as Batman, and has changed it to Kathy Kane as Batwoman, you know? I think that could be an interesting way to doing that. That way there is no Batman, there is no, Bruce Wayne, there's just Batwoman instead. I think that could be an interesting way to do that. Now, obviously, that means then you're creating this character in the comic books that creates the moniker after the Batman. She's kind of inspired by Batman to do this. You won't really get that in this iteration, so we'll have to wait and see as if they end up doing that. You know, where it was a character that was changed, you know, via the Elseworld history change. You know, Kane replaces Bruce Wayne, and maybe she has all that. So I think that could be something interesting to seeing that. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see as if we, in the next episode, that vibe that where Monitor gives the guy the book, that was probably before. I'm assuming that was before the actual change. So that sign, that Wayne Tower, could change to Kane Technologies, right? I think that could be interesting, and having her being her own character, you know, becoming on her own. Now it completely changes the character. Like I said, you know, she's no longer modeling her character herself off of Batman. She's actually doing it. She's replacing Batman. She is Batman, right? So I think that could be a way to play with that. We'll have to wait and see as to where things kind of go. Now, in the comic books, I'm not mistaken, she even uses guns and all that stuff. So there wouldn't be that kind of dynamic of she's not supposed to use guns as a Batmantle. You know, she's not supposed to use guns. But, you know, maybe they won't give her guns and they'll just have her with the batarangs instead of it. It looks like from some clips online, probably just be batarangs. I haven't seen any clips online or anything. I've tried to avoid them, but you know, can't help myself. And some of them look like there's just batarangs and no guns. But we'll just have to wait and see as to where things kind of go with that. So all in all, I think it could be interesting to see that. You know, having her not having a Batman, having her, you know, being kind of a gender-swapped Batman instead. And replaced, you know, she replaces Batman due to the Elseworld book. Having that happen makes her become her own character and not kind of an offshoot of Batman, and also makes her kind of less, I don't know, I just have to wait and see as to where things go with that. It kind of also makes her less comic book accurate because she doesn't have the same kind of origin, the kind of, you know, creating her becoming Batwoman after Batman, right? So we'll have to wait and see as to kind of where things go with all this. So all in all, I'm really excited to see as to where things go. Like I said, I'd like to see some changes kind of permanently, and I think that idea could be really cool. Is if all of a sudden this Elseworld, some of the effects stay like Kate Kane as, taking over from Bruce Wayne, and there's no more Bruce Wayne, she's just Kate Kane instead. She's took his spot, right, in history and everything. I think that could be really cool. Maybe give her the crime alley, parents getting shot and stuff, which I guess it would have been cool as if they're going to do that and actually give her Wayne Manor and everything, and keeping an Alfred. It would have been cool to see Adam West as Alfred. That would have been so cool if they did something like that. But unfortunately, he's not going to be. He passed away, right? But maybe they could get Burt Ward to be an Alfred character. I don't know. He definitely would be something cool to see him over on the Batwoman show. I think he's someone that they need to have on there. If not, actually, it would be cool to see. I can't think of his name, but Mark Hamill needs to appear on one point on that show. I think that would be really cool. If they ever do Joker, I doubt. We'll have to wait and see, but he could always play. It would also be cool to see his Trickster. Actually, he can play the Joker. If it's Gotham on Earth 1, he'd have to play the Trickster, and seeing his Trickster over on there would be really cool too. So I think that'd be really awesome. But we could also get Kevin Conroy. I think that could be the way to do it. If they end up actually showing Batman, then show Batman from the shadows. Don't actually cast the character. Do what they did with Superman in the first season of Supergirl, and just kind of never really show us who he is. And then you just have Kevin Conroy doing the voice. I think that's the way should have been doing it on Titans and stuff. They're not really doing that, but that's the way I think it could be cool, doing that with Kevin Conroy, or just casting Kevin Conroy as an Alfred type character or something could be really fun too. So all in all, I'm really excited to see as to kind of where things go with this in the next episode. So let me know what you think, guys, about this in the comments below. Where do you think things are going? Do you think we'll ever see Amazo back again? I think he'd be a really cool character, and I think it should be something I'd like to see. I think Amazo could be a character that could come back here and there. maybe as some sort of a, periodically here and there, and kind of smaller versions of him, I think could be really fun. So all in all, I definitely can't wait to see as to kind of where things go with all this and how things are going to continue on. But one of the things I just forgot to mention is that actually, if I'm not mistaken, I just read something online a while back recently that Stephen Amell says that he got to shoot in Chicago. So it sounds like they're shooting the Batwoman stuff in Chicago, so it looks different. It looks like a different city and everything. So I think that could be an interesting idea. Now that does get me, I like the idea of that, using a different landscape to make it look completely different than, Star City and everything. I mean, they do all these different, they film all these shows in Vancouver. Then you have, but they kind of all look somewhat similar, every now and then. Whereas Gotham is going to look super different because they're going to Chicago. Now that worries me because that makes it a lot less easy for them to do little crossovers. If they're going to have Gotham on the same Earth, then I want their supporting cast to be able to go back and forth. I want to see Cisco go over to Gotham and appear on Batgirl. Caitlin going on Batgirl, Felicity going on Batgirl, Diggle going on Batgirl, Laurel, Black Siren, Dinah Drake, all kinds of different people. It'd be cool to see those little ones, just like when you have Diggle going on Flash and bringing Argus to help fight King Shark. Those are such cool moments. They're smaller crossovers that kind of flesh out the episodes, and then you have the little things that kind of connect, when something happens big on one show, they see it on the other shows, like news or newspaper, or other on TV or something. But having them in a whole different, like city to film, that makes it way more difficult because the actor then has to fly away and they're not in that episode there. For the Supergirl, when Supergirl was filmed in a different city, Grant Gustin had to go over for the that first crossover that they did back to episode 18, I think. Was it World's Finest of the first season of Supergirl? He had to fly over to do that. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see as to where things go with it. Maybe this is just how things are going to go for now. And maybe after the Elseworld happens, maybe if she is on a different Earth, maybe something happens to her Gotham and she has to live in in a new Gotham that's on Earth 1, because we do know there is a Gotham on Earth 1 because of all the Easter eggs we've had to Batman and Stephen Amell, Oliver Queen straight up name dropping Bruce Wayne a couple of last season or a season ago. So there is a Gotham here. So hopefully, them going to Chicago to film could just be for this crossover, and then whenever they actually kick the show off, start filming the pilot, they can do that in Vancouver and keep it in Vancouver and stay in Vancouver for that, so that those little crossovers could be a lot more easy. And I like having everything, it can be more easy. The actors just have to walk across to another part of town, right? That makes it so much more easy to do stuff, and they're more likely to do little things with the supporting cast walking over to each other's set. I think that could be really cool seeing that. So all in all, I can't wait to see kind of where things go with that, in this season, in this crossover, and for the future of Batwoman. So let me know what you think it's about this episode in the comments below. What are you excited to see in the next part? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.